So the Switch 2 made me reconsider something that I've stated a bunch of different times in my older videos. While handheld gaming is my preferred way of gaming, I decided I will not be taking any more handheld consoles with me whenever I'm traveling, just because it will hassle. I wasn't playing them enough and they were starting to get bulkier and heavier. So that's why the Nintendo Switch 2 might have solved everything for me. Now don't get me wrong, the Nintendo Switch 2 isn't something that will completely change the handheld gaming market forever. It's just that it ticks enough boxes for me that I decided to went back on my statement that I will not be taking any more handheld consoles with me whenever I'm traveling. Now before the Nintendo Switch 2, I usually went with the ROG Ally Steam Deck or some other more portable consoles like the FPGB-C. It's a Game Boy, modern Game Boy console that I enjoyed playing so much lately. But for some reason, well, I actually know the reasons, I decided that I will not be taking any more consoles with me. The first factor is that I'm traveling, I just want to relax a bit, so I'm not planning on doing any gaming. And the second thing is that those consoles are either heavy enough or bulky enough that I can feel them in my backpack whenever I'm taking that with me, or the smaller ones like the PS Vita or the FPGB-C, they don't provide any modern games that I want to continue playing while I'm away from home. Now the Nintendo Switch 2 is the console that is taking almost 100% out of all those things, and first of all, it's portable enough and light enough that I can finally take a handheld console with me again in my backpack. Now don't get me wrong, this is still decently heavy portable console, but whenever I travel and put this in my backpack, I can barely feel it. So if you're the type of guy that always has a backpack with you, then having this one sitting inside the backpack, for me at least, it didn't really feel like a struggle. I didn't really feel that even though I took this with me when I went hiking or something, if I decided that I don't want to use the Nintendo Switch 2 for that trip, then it was still not a problem, just because it was light enough that it could still sit there without being used. I hope that makes sense. The ROG Ally, the Steam Deck, and some other consoles are heavier, bulkier. The battery life, it's awful, so you can barely play them. So they're not really that handheld when it comes to that aspect. And because I said about battery, well, the Switch 2 battery life is not that great either, especially if you compare it with the original Switch or the Switch OLED, but it's still good enough and it's better than the ROG Ally, which was the console that I usually took with me whenever I'm traveling. But if you're expecting that you can take the Switch 2 in some long hour flights and you'll be able to game for the full flight, then this is definitely not the case. And as you can see in this video, I took it in the mountains, I took it to a waterfall, I took it everywhere in my holiday trip to Switzerland, and in some trips I didn't even pull it out of my backpack and it still wasn't a burden. I was still not upset that I took it with me and didn't use it. It was just sitting there, and sometimes I even forget that it's still there. And yes, you might say, but you can do the same with the Switch 1. Well, first of all, this is a new device. Maybe the honeymoon phase is still there and I'm enjoying this more because it's a brand new device. Well, if you compare it with the Switch OLED, it's on par with that one, but I'm not doing any side-by-side comparison in this video. I'll probably do that later in my full review. But again, this is sturdy enough. The build quality is good, so I'm not worried that I will break it. The software is definitely better, and the upgrades that you get for some of the games, this is definitely make it worth it to take it on the go with you. And with the upgrades that you get for the Switch 2, especially for some titles like Zelda, Breath of the Wild, or Tears of the Kingdom, then yeah, those games alone are good enough for me that I want to take the Nintendo Switch 2 on the go. And another big aspect and why I like taking the Nintendo Switch in general, especially the Nintendo Switch 2 on while I'm traveling, whenever I'm going far with a couple of my friends. So if we're sitting in an airplane or in an airport, we usually just use the Joy-Cons and play some Mario Kart sessions, because most of my friends are casual gamers, but they still like to have some fun and they still like some gaming, and Mario Kart is that type of game that we can just sit around and play a couple of sessions. And actually didn't buy Mario Kart World just because I'm not really a big Mario Kart fan, and my friends neither, but Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still good enough for us for these small gaming sessions whenever we're in an airplane or at night somewhere doing some camping, or I don't know. I still like playing some casual games like Mario Kart or Super Mario Jamboree. These casual, fun little games makes the Nintendo Switch 2 worth it to take along with you. And while this is fun and dandy and all, I still think that this can definitely be better, and some of the aspects will not be improved anytime soon. For example, the official dock, if you want to hook it up to a big screen TV, you still have to carry that one with you. Some third-party accessories might already be out there like it was with the original one, or some of those may be compatible with the Switch 2, but I'm worried a bit to use those ones already because you might break your console, so I'm waiting a bit on that one. But the third-party accessories will definitely come, and I actually already have a bunch of them on the way, like cases, screen protectors, and a bunch of different other accessories. So this is the perfect time for subscribing if you haven't done that already. But the most negative aspect, what I don't like about using that original dock with the Nintendo Switch 2, is that most recently I started using some AR glasses. I do have the X-Real Air, which I use so much with my phones, tablets, other consoles like the ROG Ally or Steam Deck. But unfortunately, the Nintendo Switch 2 is not compatible with those kind of glasses. You still need to go through a docking station, so I'll see how that goes. But as of now, this doesn't work. Probably there are already some accessories that could help out in that aspect, but I would still love to use the Nintendo Switch 2 on an airplane using my AR glasses, because you can have a big screen, OLED screen in front of you, because this is an LCD display. And while it is a really good LCD display, don't get me wrong, if you see in these B-rolls that I have from my trip to Switzerland, the indirect sunlight, this is definitely not visible, especially while I was trying to film this to show you it here on the video. Using the Nintendo Switch directly is definitely possible, and you can still do some gaming, but direct sunlight definitely affects playing on the Nintendo Switch. And another really big thing that you need to consider with the Nintendo Switch 2 is that a really big aspect when it comes to the original one, this console will have more AAA support, so we'll see a bunch of different games on this console, not only first-party titles like we had with the original Switch. Well, of course, you still got some AAA games on that one, but this will definitely have more support. We already have a bunch of different games out there like Cyberpunk, and they're playing pretty well on this little console, so that's a really good thing. And this console, the Nintendo Switch 2, might finally be the console, the all-in-one that some of you may want to use. Having the portability of the Nintendo Switch 2, having the games, the AAA games on this little device, this could finally be that all-in-one console for some of you out there. And I know the games are not that cheap, especially $90 games for the Nintendo Switch 2. This is definitely not where I wanted to go. In the end, if you don't care about those kind of things, those kind of prices, at least you know that the Nintendo Switch 2 has the ability to play so many titles out there, first party or AAA games, on the big screen TV or in handheld mode. This is what peak gaming should be, and I'm really curious how things will go down the line, but I'm not talking about that in this video. I just wanted to say that after a couple of years, the Nintendo Switch 2 is finally that console that I can easily take with me in my backpack once more, so I can still enjoy gaming while I'm on the go. And I know holidays are for relaxing, so I'm not getting to the discussion that you shouldn't game on your holiday. If gaming is your thing, and I know it's mine, then do whatever makes you happy. But you at least know that now you have this option. The Nintendo Switch 2 is definitely a good choice to take while you're traveling. Well, I said what I had to say about the Nintendo Switch 2 in this video. Thumbs up if you like this video. So many new Nintendo Switch 2 games will come out down the line. Accessory videos, reviews, comparison, and so many more. We're slowly getting back to our original schedule. And if it's the first time you're here and you're still watching this video by now, thank you, and please consider subscribing. This is Silviu and this is the Tech Unravel, and I'll catch you in the next one.